Labor will ignore a suggestion from the Trump administration to spend at least 3% of Australia's GDP on defence. Defence Minister Richard Marles has confirmed the government will not deviate from its plan that includes $1 billion towards submarine and missile programs. Labor is aiming to increase its defence budget to approximately 2.33% of the GDP by 2033. The coalition has pledged to spend much more on bolstering Australia's military. Joining me live in the studio is the Australia's Foreign Editor, Greg Sheridan. Great to see you, Greg.
Great to be with you, Leigh.
So let's start by talking about the piece that you wrote on Richard Marles' plans to only increase the defence budget by $1 billion. You said this is for Fantasy Island, not for us.
Yeah, I mean, this is a ridiculous response by Labor. I mean, the Albanese government is having a laugh at the Australian people. It's spending barely 2% of GDP on defence. It's spending the money unbelievably inefficiently. It's had to include a huge, big increase in expenditure on the nuclear submarines. And if everything goes to schedule, miraculously, we'll get that fleet in the 2050s. Now, what that means is we're doing absolutely nothing on defence in the meantime. Labor claims it's increased spending, but that's all in the future. It says we have increased spending by $50 billion over the next 10 years. That doesn't even kick in until the last year of its second term and the first year of its third term. In the meantime, it abolished the 4th Squadron of F-35s. It cancelled demining ships. We don't have supply ships. It cancelled the upgrades on the Anzac frigates. Our Defence Force is unbelievably decrepit at the moment. The Chinese circumnavigate Australia with warships, which we could never counter. Nothing in the Australian Navy could counter those warships. And obviously the Albanese government has decided that it can take a pass on
Why?
defence.
Do you think votes matter more because people are more concerned about day-to-day cost of living issues and long-term? They're not just seeing long-term right now.
Well, I think that's a big part of it, but I think it represents a bipartisan, broad cultural failure in Australia. We are like the Afghan government before the fall of Kabul. We just believe the Americans will always handle it, and this is certainly the belief of the Albanese government. They believe the Americans will always handle it, they'll always win, they'll always be there, and if they can't handle it, there's nothing we can do about it anyway, which is an insane defeatist and you know, shameful attitude for an Australian to take. We're the 12th or 13th biggest economy in the world. Look what Israel does, look what Ukraine does for itself. If we put our mind to it, we could create missiles and drone batteries and fighter aircraft and all the rest of it, but you can't do it on this current skint
we feel
rate
safer
budget.
Because we're an island far away from enemies.
Yeah, and because the Americans have always looked after us.
Now that they're unreliable, what's our long-term strategy on defence?
Well, we don't have one. The Albanese government has revealed that it doesn't take defence seriously. It's not willing to spend another dollar on it, although Albanese said to me in an interview at the last election that he would be spending more than 2% of GDP. They've embraced this hugely expensive project of nuclear submarines and yet not increased defence spending by anything more than an infinitesimal amount. Now, what they've done is try to convince the Australian people that they've got it all under control. It shows me they don't take defence seriously, they don't believe the strategic environment is truly dangerous, and Richard Marles is completely impotent as a defence minister.
And what's Andrew Hastie telling you? What's the coalition going to do? How much more spending will they put in their budget?
Well, I made a challenge to Peter Dutton in a column on Monday saying unless he commits at least to 2.5% of GDP within the next parliamentary term, not in some never future, then he's just as bad as Labor. Because the coalition also had a very bad record over 10 years. They took spending on defence from 1.56% of GDP when they came into office to just on 2%. It took them 10 years to get there, and they wasted billions of dollars on the French subs that they cancelled. So we have a bipartisan failure here. And what we're used to doing is creating tiny niche forces which we can slot into American task groups in the Middle East or wherever they may be operating. Well, that doesn't work anymore. Trump has made it clear allies have to look after themselves to a large extent. So Britain has just gone up to 2.5% of GDP. Germany has revolutionised its national debt rules so that it can fund defence. And they're surrounded by allies, and they're much bigger economies than we are. Here we are sitting alone with a massively menacing China, militarising. Our forces are so decrepit we need virgin pilots to tell us when the Chinese are engaging live fire exercises in the Tasman Sea. And the government is doing nothing, and the opposition hasn't really campaigned. You haven't seen Dutton and Hastie out together saying, we need, missiles, we need drones, we need joint strike fighters.